Have you ever noticed that the more you try to understand the world, the more isolated you begin to feel? That the deeper your thoughts grow, the further you drift from the people around you? It's not just in your imagination. Throughout history, those who think deeply have often found themselves on the edges of society, not because they're wrong, because they perceive what others refuse to see. Think of the minds who saw what others wouldn't. Socrates questioned everything and was sentenced to death for it. Galileo challenged the church and faced house arrest. Nietzsche dissected human morality and was called mad. Tesla dreamed of wireless energy and died poor and forgotten. These weren't men who simply blended in. They were disruptors. The world punished them for it. But why does deep thinking so often lead to isolation? Why does the path of awareness feel so lonely? The answer isn't just historical, it's psychological, emotional, and even biological. When someone is stronger than us physically, we might admire their strength. If they're wealthier, we might envy them, but aspire to succeed ourselves. But when someone possesses insight, they perceive truths we can't, can make us feel small, even threatened. This is what psychologists refer to as the mirror effect. Deep thinkers don't just bring new ideas, they hold up a mirror. They reveal what others haven't examined within themselves. And most people don't want to see that. The uncomfortable truth is this: intelligence challenges identity. We don't just hold beliefs, we become attached to them. Our sense of self is built on the stories we tell ourselves. And when someone questions those stories, they're not just asking us to change our minds, they're asking us to dismantle part of who we are. That's why the reaction to deep thought is often rejection. It's not because it lacks value, but because it strikes too close to home. Maybe you've experienced it. You bring up something meaningful, and the room goes quiet. You ask a hard question, and people change the subject. You explore an uncomfortable idea, and they say you think too much. These aren't coincidences. They're defense mechanisms. Shields people raise when they're not ready to confront something deeper. Most social interactions are built on unspoken agreements. Don't go too deep. Don't challenge too much. Keep things light. Keep them easy. Deep thinkers don't always follow those rules, and so they get labeled as intense, negative, or too much. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that intelligence naturally isolates. The more you understand, the harder it is to connect. Not because you don't want connection, but because you crave something most people aren't offering: authenticity. Schopenhauer argued that most people are driven by what he called the will to live, a blind force that seeks comfort, survival, and pleasure. But deep thinkers, they're driven by the will to truth. And that sets them apart. When you seek truth instead of comfort, the world becomes more difficult. You see more, you feel more, and you question everything, especially the things others take for granted. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. And awareness comes with consequences. You begin to notice how most conversations circle around the trivial, how social life is full of masks and status games, how few people are actually present, how many are just performing. This awareness makes small talk feel exhausting. It makes shallow relationships feel suffocating. And it pushes you further into solitude, not because you hate people, but because you can't pretend anymore. Now let's look at what neuroscience tells us. Studies show that when someone feels intellectually inferior, their brain's threat response activates. Specifically, the amygdala region associated with fear lights up. In other words, when a deep thinker speaks, others can feel it as an attack. Not because the thinker is hostile, but because their insight challenges what others believe about themselves. This response is evolutionary. In early human tribes, fitting in was crucial. If you were rejected by the group, your survival was at risk. So the brain learned to prioritize belonging over truth. Fitting in was safer than standing out. That instinct still lingers today. The person who asks difficult questions, who thinks too deeply, becomes a threat to group harmony. And so, the group pushes back, not with fists, but with distance, discomfort, and exclusion. This is especially true in group settings. A Stanford study found that people respond to intelligence differently based on context. In one-on-one interactions, intelligence is less threatening. But in groups, it becomes a liability. The smarter person challenges the group dynamic hand. That's dangerous. Why? Because groups are status systems. When someone in the group appears superior, others feel insecure. They worry about how they're being perceived. And instead of admiring intelligence, they often reject it to restore equilibrium. This is why deep thinkers are often more comfortable in solitude or small circles. Not that they're antisocial, it's that they're trying to avoid the tribal politics of group behavior. Let's talk about another psychological factor, the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a cognitive bias where people with low ability overestimate their competence, while those with high ability often underestimate theirs. This creates a strange social paradox. Those who know the least often speak the loudest. They radiate confidence, even when they're wrong. Meanwhile, those who know the most often speak with humility, complexity, and doubt. But society rewards confidence, not depth. Politics and media and entertainment, the people who dominate are often not the wisest. They're the boldest, the clearest, the loudest. This creates a culture where charisma outweighs intelligence, where sound bites replace real insight, where simple answers are preferred over honest ones. It's not that people don't want truth, it's that they want it fast, easy, and emotionally satisfying. Deep thinkers don't offer that. They offer complexity. Complexity takes work. And let's be honest, most people don't want to work for their worldview. They want certainty, reassurance, not existential discomfort. Now consider the digital age. Social media rewards virality, not nuance. The algorithm doesn't care how thoughtful your ideas are written. It cares how much engagement they generate. And what drives engagement? Outrage, humor, simplicity, emotion. This puts deep thinkers at a disadvantage. Their ideas don't fit into 15-second clips. They require reflection, context, nuance. And the internet isn't built for that. So the world scrolls past them, not because they're wrong, but because they're not entertaining enough. This can be disheartening, to see shallow ideas thrive, while thoughtful ones are ignored. To be told your thoughts are too much, while misinformation spreads like wildfire. But here's the paradox. The more clearly you see, the harder it becomes to be seen. The more deeply you think, the harder it becomes to be heard. And yet clarity is its own reward. Because while others chase noise, you find signal. While others seek validation, you seek truth. And while others fear silence, you find strength in it. This doesn't mean you're doomed to loneliness. It means you must be intentional with connection. Seek those who speak your language, who value reflection, who understand that silence can be sacred, not awkward. That not all questions have answers, and that's okay. One meaningful conversation is worth more than 100 surface interactions. And one honest friend is worth more than 1,000 followers. If you're a deep thinker, don't apologize for your intensity. Don't water down your ideas to fit in. Don't pretend to be less than you are to make others comfortable. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be popular to be right. You just need to stay true to what you see, because while the world may reject deep thought, it also desperately needs it. It needs people who question, who reflect, who refuse to settle for illusion. Even if society doesn't celebrate you, it needs you. Your insight may be inconvenient, but it's essential, because progress doesn't come from comfort. It comes from those willing to see what others avoid, to speak what others won't, and to stand alone. That's what truth requires. And here's a final thought. Isolation doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're different. And being different isn't a curse. It's a signal that your mind works in a way most can't grasp, that your thoughts reach further than most dare to go. So, embrace it. Read the books no one else reads. Ask the questions no one else asks. Have the conversations no one else is ready for. It's not because you want to be special, but because that's who you are, and that's enough. Because the world doesn't change through conformity. It changes because of those who think too deeply, feel too much, and refuse to look away. So keep seeing, keep thinking, never let the silence of others drown out the truth within you.